Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the cert-manager development meeting, the bi-weekly development meeting. Today we are joined by some new people, some occasional contributors and some new people. So perhaps I can't see everyone's name, but I think Paweł and Łukasz, do you want to introduce yourselves and tell us about what you'd like to discuss today?
Hi guys. So yeah, we both work at the same company and the same project currently, and basically we are interested in to bring the OCP sampling into the right place, either here or somewhere else. So I guess that's the main focus for us.
Okay, thanks, Łukasz, for that. Erik, what about you? You're joining today to discuss a particular topic?
Not a particular topic. I just want to join to hear what you're discussing.
Fair enough. And who else have we got? Erik, could you hand over to someone else, not from Venafi? I can't see who else is in the meeting.
I think it's just Vinny left.
Vinny, tell us about yourself.
Hey, yeah, Vinny. I work at Kohl's, a retail company in the United States, and calling to listen and see what's going on. And I was curious on getting traction on pull request reviews, like etiquette around that. I was trying to find that in the contributing docs, and don't want to annoy people too much, so want to make sure.
Great. Okay, thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. There's me, Tim, and Ashley are all maintainers of cert-manager. We're with Venafi and here regularly, most times, most meetings. So the agenda is, it sounds like we have got the start of an agenda. If I scroll down. First thing, oh, hang on. We haven't got an agenda, so let's look. Oh, we have got an agenda. So Erik, first things first, you want to talk about approval policy.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. I wasn't prepared for this actually. Maybe Tim added this to the agenda. That's fine with me. I had a question on Slack regarding some detailed API questions about the policy themselves. I tried to ping Josh. I got some response, but I'm still in doubt whether I understand it, because I have this cell approvers policy feature, which I started working on, and well, it's far from done, but only by starting with it, there's questions popping up. So I think my focus now is to try to improve the API docs on the policy API itself. But in order to do that, I need to understand how it's actually working and what's the idea here. I'm a bit puzzled of using pointers to slices, which kind of makes nil behave different from an empty slice or an empty array. If you look at it from the API point of view, right. Kubernetes API.
Did Josh answer that point? I saw you ask him. Did he respond?
He responded, but I'm still having a hard time understanding. And I think Tim, at least Tim, you wrote that you also had some issues understanding what's going on here.
I also had issues understanding what's going on here, so that makes at least three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is a reason to have like a pointer to a slice, I think. So if you don't provide the fields, the pointer will be nil. If you provide like an empty array, there will be a pointer to an empty array, basically, as far as I understand it. What that is useful for in the context of approval policy, I have no idea. And I don't get why we have these required fields, and then the whole thing is also pointer, like the whole, well, I'm not sure what's called, like the slice thing is also a pointer where it's like the slice combined with required.
I think the requirements make sense to me, because you have to somehow in your policy be able to specify that the CSR must contain an attribute of a particular kind.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
But just like kind of how that interacts with that pointer, that's what I'm not clear on.
Yeah, me too. The validation rules are a bit special here. They are kind of linked together, the values and the required. So it's kind of a composite validation enforced by the admission webhook, validating webhook. So I'm not sure. I don't think we will get to kind of an answer to this now, but I was hoping to get some input on how we can get to a point, or who we should ask, or what we should do in order for me to be able to submit a PR to rewrite some of it. So at least the three of us that don't understand this at the moment will understand it, and hopefully everyone else.
Maybe for a bit of context still, like Erik is working on this CL feature, and as part of CL feature, I think you were changing some of the comments in the API, and so I was like, oh, well, okay, that's great that you're changing these comments, because it's very hard for me to understand based on these comments what the current behavior is and why it is this way. It was like, okay, well, we'll have great comments and it will be well explained, but it turns out that it's not that easy to explain it or to understand even what the behavior is.
Yeah.
So that would be great if we could kind of get a deeper understanding and like fully understand design decisions, even if some of these weren't very logical in a way. I don't know that yet. And then maybe, if necessary, maybe we do like an alpha v2, but that's like very far in the future. But yeah, maybe it's just so crazy in terms of design that it would make sense to change it. I don't know.
I think it could make sense to start with a non-breaking change. At least that's what we do in our operators for the versioning of our APIs. We always start by introducing some new feature that we, ideally, if we were starting from scratch, we would model this differently. But since conversion webhooks needs to be round trippable, you need to store the information anyway. So we just put it in somewhere and making a non-breaking change. And then we have more information and we can get more experience in designing kind of the next version of the API. But I don't know if you're used to having that type of process.
Yeah, well, right now I'm not sure if it's like possible to improve the API without making backwards incompatible change. But the thing that I'm wondering is this blocking right now for your CL improvements? And is this something you should do first before you start with CL?
It depends on the direction we're going in. I mean, if we're heading for a new API version, I mean, it could do anything. But right now, I'm trying to introduce sibling fields next to the values and required, which means somehow I need to specify how they will interact. And now the docs are kind of, well, it's kind of mixed together. Something is on the required field and something is on the values fields. And there are some description on what is allowed and what is not allowed. And if you look at the code, of course, you will know what is allowed. But the problem is you have to kind of document it in a, at least to me, in a Kubernetes API documentation fashion. I don't think using nil and stuff like that makes a lot of sense when you write about what's going to become a Kubernetes API, because the fields are not nullable in the open API context.
It's certainly a smell that required is a pointer to a bool when false is a perfectly valid default for that, I think. Like, So the problem specifically that you would have would be that the required field that we have is going to affect your new sibling field as well, right?
Yeah, my idea was to introduce this new field, and the rules were going to be pretty simple. To sustain the old behavior, if you put in values, you would have to ensure that all your attributes in the CSR matches the values as it is now. And if you put in required, you should validate that the attribute is present. But in addition to that, my plan was to run these validations. So even if value says star some domain on DNS name, to take an example, I would be able to add a validation saying, oh, it's not really star, it's you have to put your namespace, it have to be a subdomain of your namespace domain, in a sense.
I think I follow. I'm still. I think I've got myself stuck on the pointer to slice thing, and I'm still trying to get my head around it. And I can, even the comment, I can understand the words, but together it doesn't follow.
And the case that you just described, like a pointer to Boolean, where the Boolean is default, can be like an empty value. I feel like that could be something that we just change the Go API and we make a breaking change in the Go API, but the YAML or the Kubernetes API stays the same, and that would be a non-breaking change, in my opinion. And that would simplify it also.
Yeah.
But generally, I think my conclusion on this is that we need more hours to be put into this, and like more more discussion with Josh, for example, because he knows a lot more about this. And we just need to get to a deeper level on this topic. And like you said, it's probably important to do that before we do the CL, because we need to know how it interacts with your CL expressions.
Yep. Do we know who worked together with Josh on this?
I think you may have gone on a bit of a solo trip on this one.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know that for a fact, but certainly
you can look at the PRs. And
I
approved them.
Like when you asked him, Erik, and he said that the reason for the pointers to slices was to support the impossible condition, as though that was the thing I was meant to understand. And I was like, there's clearly some gap here for me that I need to like why do we want that? Like there's a step that I'm missing. Yeah, more discussion. I agree, Tim. One good thing.
What I suggest there, to be concrete, is to remove the pointer to the slice and make the values field required. If I'm not mistaken, I think you can express the impossible policy by setting values to an empty list and then the required to true. Because by making it required, you would probably remove the omit empty on the JSON marshalling, which means that you have to set it to something.
I think where I stop is like the impossible policy. If such a thing should exist, we could just have a field that says impossible rather than implying it through some like strange incantation of values and required. Like just have a thing that says this is impossible and then done.
I think what he wrote is like any policy engine needs the impossible policy.
Yeah, I accept that, but I don't necessarily accept that it needs to be done via an incantation of a required and what have you. Like we can just say impossible, like impossible true, done.
Yeah. But
Okay.
anyway, I think we should probably move forward in this meeting. I will try to follow up on this when I have some more time. It's quite busy at the moment. I was hoping to get to your stand-up. I'll probably come tomorrow, though, because I'm home tomorrow. I'm in the office now. Yeah. So that's what I'm suggesting, to kind of continue the discussion. I could maybe Ashley, Tim, and I could set up a meeting just to try to find a way forward.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Erik. Next item on the list, I think, is Łukasz and Paweł. So do you want to talk about your work on the OCSP stapling?
Yeah, so the ticket was raised a while ago, and I was in this meeting like 2 months ago or something like that, and then we stand out on the point on reopening the issue, which was closed due to inactivity. And there was ongoing discussion with Travis Hansen that created some OCSP manager project, which was supposed to be linked as something that can be used and will be supported by cert-manager to provide OCSP stapling. And as well, I reopened the old PR, which tried to add OCSP stapling inside the cert-manager with some addition to the first solution. But in it, I always get back to the issue itself. So what we are looking for is what will be the best way. So if we should proceed with trying to include those OCSP stapling inside cert-manager, or support the Travis project called OCSP Manager. I don't know, Łukasz, if you would like to add something.
No, not really.
So I'm so sorry, guys. I'm trying to catch up. Shall I share the?
Yeah, this issue. Yeah,
this is the issue.
Yeah.
I do remember, Łukasz, you joining the meeting in August, and as a result, I reopened it. What did I write? I looked through the comments and I saw that Travis had talked about an implementation. So just, Łukasz, would you mind just take it? Let's go through this comment by comment. So I suggested that Travis should share the source code
One
of his...
side note from my side, probably Łukasz you're referring to was my colleague. He's no longer with us, but it was definitely not me.
Oh, sorry. Well, so one of you guys explain the story again to me. So I'm really slow. I don't absorb these things. So I saw Travis had got some sort of implementation, and I suggested he link to the source code. Has he done that?
Yeah, he linked. It's a few lines below. Or link.
Here. This
Yeah,
one?
here. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
So what's your analysis of this project? Does it meet your needs?
Like I tried it and it works as it's described, at least by Travis. But also Jon from our company was mentioning that he sees an issue where there could be a moment that stapling will not be properly synced with the solution. To this comment provided by Travis. Yeah, he wanted us to like proceed with this discussion.
I see. So you work with
yeah.
Jon, I see.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. I haven't tried this myself. I've missed, or I didn't realize all this conversation had been going on. Ashley, have you got any thoughts on this?
I too am trying to cast my mind back. So I think the last time we discussed this, I came away from it still convinced that cert-manager should not be doing this, and that an external project would be a better way of doing this. This looks good, and the thing that jumps out to me is that perhaps what I would want from this OCSP manager project, I've seen it for the first time in the past minute, so forgive me if this is what it already does, but is that it would watch a secret and then create another secret, so that my application could depend on that second secret rather than the first one that's being updated in place, because that gets around the time period where you don't have the OCSP response. You just wait until that second secret is created and depend on that. So then presumably when cert-manager rotates the original secret, the OCSP manager will see that and reconcile again on that original secret. So it's a duplication, but then at least you don't have to, you don't have this race condition where your application, not race condition, but you don't have this situation where your application could use it without the response being there. Does that make sense?
I feel useless. Could you say it once more, Ashley? There's the race condition. So the certificate cert-manager puts the signed certificate in the secret resource. OCSP manager reacts to that, and it fetches the staple document and puts it in that same secret in a different file name. So there is a moment when the server that has mounted the secret containing the signed certificate does not have the correct staple. What's the solution? Ashley, what's your solution to that?
So my solution is that rather than modifying the secret that cert-manager creates, OCSP manager creates a new secret with the same certificate but with the stapled response in.
Got it. Yeah. And that's
So then,
what the application can mount. And
yeah,
use.
because ultimately cert-manager controls that whole secret that it creates, and so it can't. OCSP manager can't work in tandem with it because cert-manager owns it. But if OCSP manager has its own secret, then the OCSP response on that is always synced with the certificate in that secret by definition, kind of, and it can be updated atomically, if that makes sense. That would be that's my initial response, but I could totally be making things up there. I'm not sure if that's helpful.
And the OCSP documents, do they overlap? I mean, if a server starts up, say we didn't do what Ashley said, and the server mounts the cert-manager managed secret, could it be configured to wait until the OCSP document was available, and thereafter the OCSP document would be periodically updated, and it would be updated more frequently than the certificate itself, and it wouldn't matter that there was it prefetches the OCSP document, doesn't it, so that it gets the new one before the old one has expired. But then the secret rotates.
You're overcomplicating, Richard. I think
I'm trying to think of this through on the fly, and I'm really embarrassed that everyone's listening to me thinking it through. Go on, Tim.
So I think the problem is that you have this condition where the staple isn't a staple for the certificate anymore because the certificate rotated. So cert-manager rotates the certificate. There's a new certificate, but the staple is still for the old certificate. So at that point, if you serve a web application, the staple that the web server would serve wouldn't match the TLS certificate that's used for serving. And that's kind of the problem. I think what Ashley gave as a solution is a very good solution, and it probably will, or I'm pretty certain that it will fix the problem. So what Ashley's saying is basically you copy everything into a separate secret, And that way, you kind of keep the old secret as long as there is no OCSP staple yet for the new secret. So you only update the certificate with the OCSP staple when the OCSP staple is fetched for the new certificate that was created by cert-manager. So there is a bit of like this history. It kind of keeps the certificate a bit longer until the OCSP staple is fetched. And that would be an ideal solution. And I think that's really good. Yeah, I think that would definitely fix it. But also
the disadvantage would be that you're sort of duplicating the private key. It's bad enough that you've got it in one secret and now you've got it in two. Some people might find that too much, I suppose. Some people don't like having the private key in the secret at all.
Well, I don't think it's that big of a problem. I mean, if you could name them very similarly and make sure that you always shouldn't put them like at the other end of the universe, but if you kind of keep it together and maybe add some owner references or something like that, I don't know.
I'm interested to hear what Paweł and Łukasz think about this.
So my initial thought about this setup, despite it seems like a good idea in general, I'm a little afraid that the overcomplication of having two secrets and it may be hard to understand what comes from where. For example, in the flow where the secret is like a result of an annotation put on an ingress object, for example. The cert-manager creates the secret, yet another controller creates another secret, and what exactly is used when and by what. It sounds complicated. Maybe I'm missing some points here. Like, for example, ingress controller. How would we tell it to use the second secret and not the one which name is put in the ingress object specification? Because if I remember the flow correctly, cert-manager will create a certificate in secret object named as it was in the spec of the ingress, and that would be the secret used by the ingress controller to terminate TLS. So what about then the next secret?
Yeah, that's fair. The ingress situation does make that more difficult, doesn't it? I think I have a tendency to think about a user creating a certificate resource and then going from there. I forget about ingress.
But then that's still a valid option, right? To just create a certificate manually and not use ingress shim.
True.
So that's maybe another question I have. Like, is your use case to use this for like public certificates, or is it your private PKI that you use for this?
Public.
That you will be using this with? Public.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get some kind of public certificate that you want to reduce the lifespan, basically, of that certificate.
Yeah, and the main or the original reasoning is that we operate on a regulated market, and one of our clients put it as a requirement to have staples. And we are trying to find the best way to align it with the rest of our current platform setup, namely Istio and cert-manager. And actually, if I recall right, probably you could correct me, but we are actually creating certificate objects without the ingresses. So the trigger is not the ingress object, but at the same time, I'm trying to think about the use cases to which I'm used to in my other project. And it always was that ingresses were the triggers for the certificate objects.
I think I feel like if the ingress thing isn't a blocker for you. I don't really know how we could get around that particularly easily at the moment. But if that's not a blocker for you, what I'd say is pursuing something like what I mentioned with the duplicate secret might be the fastest way for you to get unblocked, because even were we to merge this in cert-manager, which I can't say for sure one way or another, but that's probably going to be a longer process than if you got something going with this OCSP manager thing. I imagine that would be a faster time to solution for you. Is that fair?
And what about the code? Because I believe Paweł already proposed something on the layer of code, let's say.
This is the pull request.
It was on the issuance flow.
The one at the bottom,
Yeah, the one at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah. I've been taking a look at it, and like it's not. I don't see any reason like that it should be blocked, but it does. This does add at least a new controller, which is going to be running. Obviously, it adds more situations in which we have to reconcile, and it has an impact on how cert-manager operates day to day. If this was behind a feature gate, I can't see it doing any harm particularly. But I suspect still that working through a different project, the OCSP manager is likely to be faster than resolving this through us, because I don't know how much time we have for this kind of thing. Like this would at the very least, I think, need a feature gate, which requires code changes and more reviews and things like that.
And also, I think apart from the customer that you have, I'm not sure how many other people want this. And that might be also a factor where you want to focus more on like features that everyone can benefit a lot from. And this will also require quite a bit of time from our side to review this, to maintain this, and to keep it stable.
Okay. Obviously, I don't know the numbers about the customers, but the original creator was a guy from Cisco, which name I cannot recall right now. And I can imagine that since Travis created this manager project, there is a need on the market.
So I've just been randomly thinking. So your colleague has 2 points. That every certificate will have a period without OCSP stapling. And this is the problem that Ashley was talking about. But what if this project continued to update the cert-manager secret, but out of band and periodically? But what if it also had a mutating webhook, so that when cert-manager tried to update the secret with its new signed certificate, this project would block the update until it had fetched the staple document and added it to the secret? Could that work?
Potentially, yeah. Just to be sure I follow. So cert-manager refreshes the secret, refreshes the data, it puts it in the secret, and since we have mutating webhook, the second controller catches this event and add whatever is needed in terms of the staple.
Yeah. That might work.
I wonder for this ingress use case, because that's the thing that we're solving for right now. Who has an ingress controller that supports serving these OCSP staples. Is that something that Istio supports, for example?
Yeah.
That's what
It
you guys
started
have done, isn't it? You've patched Istio or
Yeah,
patched
we
the
slid
Envoy
it.
proxy to let
Yeah.
it load the staple.
Basically, it was already in Envoy, and it requires some gluing to Istio and enabling it to serve it. So it's there. I know that HA proxy, not as an Istio, not as an ingress controller, supports it. So I can imagine that HA proxy ingress controller also. So it's there. I don't know about Nginx ingress controller. No.
And they all do support loading it from a file and not just fetching it themselves, because that was something else I think Richard discussed in the last meeting, is that often these web servers could just fetch the staple themselves instead of fetching it from a file system, which is a bit, well, it means that you depend on some other system to provision it for you.
But then I talked myself, so I stand by that. And Ashley looked into it, didn't we? And we found that some of the web servers do that. But then after the meeting, I remember convincing myself that, like if you've got a deployment with 1,000 Envoy servers, 1,000 Envoy replicas, you don't want them all to fetch their own staple document. It would be much more efficient if something had downloaded it once and provided it to all of those servers. But
All right, yeah. But then maybe the OCSP, what's called manager, could be a solution.
yeah, I'm still pretty keen on this thing by Travis. I do think it'd be worth experimenting to see if a mutating webhook could be added to it. And it seems like it would do everything you need it to do. But we should certainly document it. I would if you created a website document explaining how this project could be used for OCSP stapling, I would be interested to read it and review it and merge it if it makes sense. I guess that's probably not what you wanted to hear, Lucas and Pavel. But are you in any way convinced or persuaded by what we're saying?
Yeah, I see the point of having it somewhere else. I can imagine that it is a burden to have it now integrated in the cert-manager. But at the same time, I see the fragile, how it could be a fragile setup of two controllers and a webhook, or just hard to understand from the end user perspective. I would rather see a solution which, in the end, in the simple words, creates a secrets containing 3 keys with all the data I needed, maybe hidden behind a feature gate, so that if not needed, the staple it's not there. But I see point, guys. I guess what we would like to have is like a clear path to move forward. Should we still invest the time into the merge request Pavel prepared, or I don't know, focus ourselves on the OCSP manager thing?
I'd go for the OCSP manager option personally. So even if I was trying to get this into cert-manager, I think I would still treat it as a separate controller, and maybe I'd even treat it as a separate Docker image that could be optionally deployed, rather than make it one of the core cert-manager controllers. And perhaps if Travis's project does prove its worth, we could bring it into cert-manager.
In the organization, I mean, like the GitHub organization.
Yeah, or even into the, it could be one of the Docker images of cert-manager that gets deployed optionally, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of projects that you can use with cert-manager that are not in the main repository on it.
Yeah, but none of them. This one in particular would be somewhat responsible for the cert-manager secret resources. So it might make sense that it was more closely combined with cert-manager. Anyway, we've got 15 minutes left. Is there any other remarks on this topic? In that case, shall we ask? I've forgotten your name. Is it Vinny? Do you want to talk about OpenShift-routes?
Yeah. So I have that pull request out there. I know it's not the most active project. I was just curious around recommended process for trying to get eyes on it without spamming the channel and annoying all the other devs.
Hey, Vinny, I'm sorry.
Hey.
I'm supposed to be. Everyone, I haven't talked at all in this meeting. I reviewed some PRs on this project, and I was really keen in making it more active, but I wasn't able to prove, or I don't know, make it more official, make it supported by my employer. And I kind of gave up because of this, or I didn't give up, but I'm just giving some a few hours every now and then when I can to make things move forward. But now that I see your face, I really want to make it work. So just showing your face is really helpful.
Is this the issue, Vinny?
Yep.
The pull request, I mean.
Yep.
So maybe we can quickly see where this PR is at.
Yeah, so I think I fixed the test. There was a test because the way comparing RSA certificates versus ECDSA doesn't quite behave the same because of the signature, as you pointed out. So I think I fixed that. So yeah, it is listed as an XXL because I included the 1.12 upgrade I upgraded the cert-manager module to 1.12. So that brought in a bunch of lines. So I don't know if it'd be easier if I split that out into a separate pull request for this specific one, or.
I was about to comment on that actually. I'm not a maintainer, but if I were a maintainer, I would definitely say yes, because I do a lot of code review in my company. And when some of the developers come with big pull requests doing multiple things, I either delay them or tell them to split it up.
Yeah.
Okay, on my side, I wasn't really bothered, or I wasn't worried, or I don't know. I just wasn't pretty worried with the upgrades. I was focusing on actually making the feature work and testing it. If you I don't know, you could split it up if you want. It's not mandatory. I will accept it anyways.
Okay.
And I would like at some point to get more people involved in this project. Meaning, I'm looking for maintainers. I'm looking for people to help on this.
May I ask why we do this? I mean, we run on OpenShift. We have a lot of OpenShift clusters, but we only use ingresses. We don't use OpenShift-routes. Maybe Vinny, you can comment with some comments around this.
Yeah. At our company, we only use routes. We don't use ingresses. And there are some teams that do this functionality manually, basically. And so when I came across the project, I figured it could take one step out, and hopefully people stop forgetting to rotate their certs and then stuff breaks.
May I ask why you only use routes? Or
it's just how people have always done it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a strong reason why.
Because we use ingress, and then you have the ingresses being transformed into routes, and then everything works, even if you run an OpenShift. So it's
right.
Yeah.
We cannot expect everyone to change their full cluster because we don't support something.
It was more like, well, OpenShift is a commercial product, far and foremost, but and it's always questionable whether an open source project should spend resources on supporting the big enterprise. It's
Yeah, well, I think this started as some kind of side project, right? This was something that Jake developed. What's the background on this project?
It was an intentional feature that, so Venafi spent time, or Venafi, when Jake was put on this project because we thought there was an opportunity somehow. That's the that's why the project came to be. And now that Jake is gone, I don't know, I just took over. And also Jake, who just created a PR to add a helm shot, which is awesome. It means like you won't have to do it. Jake from CERN is also very, very into this project. And he came to KubeCon and he said, we talked, and that's why I became much more involved. That's the backstory. By the way, there is another project that does exactly the same thing, but without, but instead it uses a secret, an intermediate secret. It's called the cert-utils something, OpenShift cert-utils, I think.
Oh yeah, I think I came across that one. I haven't tried it yet.
Maybe this other one is more or better maintained. I don't know.
Right.
I know this project specifically was created because some customers didn't want to have private keys stored in secrets in Kubernetes. So that was the idea. And this other project was storing things in secrets, and that didn't fit what some customers wanted. But yeah.
How does it work if we don't store stuff in secrets? Where does it store the certificate?
We store the private key on the route directly. That's how a route is, how it works. Yeah. It is a bit backwards compared to, but it has been created a long, long time ago, before the ingress resource.
Well,
I've heard there's like potential changes coming in that realm to hopefully, make that better. But
it all looks pretty good, doesn't it, Maël? This is almost ready to merge. It looks like Vinny has addressed your comments, and
exactly.
There are some tests. So you've done your job, Vinny, by coming here and reminding us to not forget about this.
Exactly.
Raise some awareness for the project.
And thanks for coming, because it always helps. At least it helps me when I have someone in front of me and I don't know, it feels small because I'm helping someone.
Right.
That gives me more energy to review stuff. Although I wish we had more, I don't know, if you want to come along and be helpful on the project, maybe you want to become a GitHub member of the org, and we could put you reviewer at some point of this project and so on. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully I can start spending more time with these sort of projects. Hoping to get more involved. So cool. Yeah, looking forward to it.
I'll approve it right now, right away.
Thank you.
And then we'll need to do a new release, will we, Maël?
Oh yeah. It needs to be done like tomorrow, but as soon as possible, because there is another change that didn't get released yet, I think. We'll need to check that. Yeah. Let's do a release right after the PR is merged, or almost after, because right now it's really late.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have to lose sleep over it.
I
I appreciate it though.
Would you do a beta release or something, right? A release that people can test? No.
On this project, I just don't bother. But maybe I should. What do you think, Vinny?
I would probably just take on I don't know how many people use this thing. I know it's a smaller footprint, or I'd assume it's a smaller footprint than the normal cert-manager project. So I don't know if I have a strong preference either way. It's still not even V1, so I don't know.
Yeah, so I will not bother.
Okay.
If that's okay, Richard. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I don't mind, but I just thought I saw all these pull requests that are open. I didn't know whether they'd all be, if you did a release just for Vinny, won't these people be put out?
Oh, that's fine. Let's do another release when another PR comes in.
There are tons of PRs here.
Some of them are stuck. Some of them are allow installation in custom namespace. So actually, this is what is interesting, because the person was so annoyed that I didn't give a positive answer, it's not that I didn't give a positive answer. It's just that they just spin off their own project in Rust to do the exact same thing as this project. So there is another project.
Oh, cool.
If you look in this PR at the very end, or not the end, but probably before that.
Well, anyway.
No. This is the issue. But if you open the PR, you'll see the person saying that he created his own project. Yeah, this one, and it has a logo, unlike OpenShift-routes. And it's in Rust. Maybe we should stop this now. I'm just kidding.
All right. So that's progress, right? That's a good result. Any other remarks before we finish the meeting?
Talking about releases, I would love to have a release of Trust Manager soon. And I think others are waiting for it also. So
yes. I was kind of wondering, do I try to add like automation for this release, or do I just do the manual release now to unblock everyone? I think I'll do that, because otherwise you'll have to wait longer. So yeah, I'll do the manual release. I think the PR is ready, and that will be Alpha 1, right?
something of the kind.
V070 Alpha 1, I think. Yeah. And then once we confirm that, we can do a V7 release or a V07 release. Okay. I'll do that tomorrow.
Thanks. We're running with the Alpha 0 in production right now, so
Shouldn't do that. You shouldn't. If you're listening to this recording, don't do this.
exactly. That's why I said it. But
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming, and let's see you all in 2 weeks. Lucas, come back, and don't give up on the OCSP stapling, Pavel and Łukasz, you might still persuade us, but I'd encourage you to work with that other guy on his project and see if we can get something working between you all, and encourage you to add some documentation PRs where we could start writing down, maybe writing a tutorial explaining how people can use cert-manager and the other project to achieve something useful. All right, thanks everyone. I'll stop the recording and see you all tomorrow.
Thanks very much, everyone. See you later.
Bye, everyone.